Welcome to the March 11th regular meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Is there any public comment on the agenda itself? Okay. First order of business is going to be swearing in a new police officer to Plymouth Township, Megan Wazinski. Chief, do you have anything to say? Introduce Megan to us.
Yes, thank you. On August 10, 2023, the Plymouth Township Civil Service Commission certified a list for probationary police officers. Megan Wazinski is the next eligible candidate on that list. Ms. Wazinski is certified as a paramedic in New Jersey and Pennsylvania and has been a practicing nurse for 10 years. She's currently a college professor for nursing, holding a master's degree in nursing education. Moreover, she's the proud mother of her 5-year-old daughter, Ella. Joining Megan here tonight is her mother, Linda, father, Brian, as well as several other family members and loved ones. As a vacancy now exists in the police department with the impending retirement of an officer, I ask that council appoint Megan Wazinski as a probationary police officer to the Plymouth Township Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Beautiful.
She been officially hired yet, or we're voting on this? Yeah, we can vote on it.
All right. Let's take a vote on the hiring of Megan Wazinski. Mr. Nelson.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Kristen?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
And the chair votes, oh, sorry, Ms. Vicio. We have Lynn Vicio on speakerphone, I apologize. Ms. Vicio?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Thank you. Let's have Officer Wazinski sworn in.
Repeat after me. I state your name. I, Megan Wazinski, do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and that I will enforce the laws of this Commonwealth and the ordinances of Plymouth Township, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. I do further swear that I will uphold, obey, and enforce the law without consideration to a person's race, color, sex, religious creed, sexual orientation, age, national origin, ancestry, handicap, or disability. Congratulations.
I get a picture
Yeah.
council?
We get a picture?
Yep.
All right. Big smiles, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Eyes on me. 4, 5, 6. I only have 25 more years to go. All right.
Council members, perhaps one with her parents as well? And the chief.
Go ahead, John.
Good evening.
John.
Chief.
Chief.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
This is Women's History Month. Great time to swear in a new officer.
1, 2, 3. Beautiful.
If anyone wants to leave now before we get on to regular business, feel free, because we're going to be reading about zoning hearings and escrow releases and exciting stuff. But you're welcome to stay. This is open to the public. Okay, announcements. Council held an executive session on March 4th, 2024, and an executive session will be held March 11th after this meeting. Next, let's have approval of the minutes for the workshop meeting that was held February 5th and the regular meeting held February 12th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Whitney. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Nelson. All those in favor? Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
I don't know what to say. Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Thank you. Can we have a motion to approve the departmental reports and bills attached to the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nelson. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitney. All those in favor? Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Frederick?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right. I'd like to announce under administration that our April council meetings will have a slightly different date. The workshop will be held on April the 8th at 6 o'clock here in the community center, and the regular meeting will be held on April the 15th. All right, next we have tax stipulation to settle. Mr. Clark.
Thank you. The first one we have this evening is a stipulation to settle. The property owner is Danella Properties of Pennsylvania LP. The property is located at 2300 Butler Pike in Plymouth Township, Montgomery County. This is an appeal that was initiated by the Colonial School District. At the time of the appeal, the assessment on the property was $223,830. The Montgomery County Board of Assessment Appeals on November 4th, 2020, issued a no change in assessment, and shortly thereafter, the Colonial School District appealed the notice of no change to the Montgomery County Court of Common Pleas. Based on the risks and hazards of litigation, the parties have decided that it is in their best interest to settle the above captioned matter based on the terms and conditions outlined in this stipulation to settle. Effective January 1st, 2021, for county and township taxes, the assessment shall be increased from $223,830 to $562,800. Effective January 1st for county and township, January 1st, 2022, for county and township tax purposes, the assessment on the subject property shall be increased from $223,830 to $536,400. Effective January 1st, 2023, for county and township tax purposes, the assessment on the subject property shall be increased from $223,830 to $475,200. The assessment on the subject property shall remain at $475,200 for each subsequent tax year until there is another subsequent successful assessment appeal, a change in the subject property, or a change as permitted by applicable law. As a result of the increase in the assessment on the subject property, there was an underpayment in taxes to Plymouth Township for tax years 2021, 2022, and 2023 in the amount of $2,266.58, and that amount will be paid to the township if council approves the settlement tonight. So we would ask for a motion to accept the stipulation to settle.
Is there a motion to accept the stipulation?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Vicio, second by Ms. Frederick. What should I call you?
Leonard, Drew Leonard. Doesn't matter, as long as you say one of them,
All
we're
right,
good.
all those in favor, Mr. Nelson,
In favor.
Ms. Vicio,
In favor.
Mr. Whitney,
In favor.
Ms. Leonard,
In favor.
and the chair votes in favor. All right, we have another tax stipulation to settle. Mr. Clark?
We do, thank you. This is a stipulation to settle. The property owner is 55TL Associates LP, and they are the former owner, and Commonwealth Charter Academy Charter School is the current owner of a tax parcel located at 550 Township Line Road in Plymouth Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. The taxpayer filed an appeal to the Montgomery County Board of Assessment Appeals seeking a reduction in the assessment of the property for the 2022 tax year. At the time of the appeal, the Board of Assessment Appeals, the assessment on the subject property was $4,103,560. The Montgomery County Board of Assessment Appeals on September 24th of 2021 issued a notice of no change in assessment. The taxpayers appealed the decision of the Board of Assessment Appeals to the Montgomery County Common Pleas on or about September 30th of 2021. And whereas based on the risks and hazards of litigation, the parties have all decided it is in their best interest to settle the above captioned matter based upon the terms and conditions outlined in this stipulation to settle. Effective January 1st, 2022, for county and township tax purposes, the assessment on the subject property shall be reduced from $4,103,560,000 to $2,500,000. Effective January 1st, 2023, for county and township tax purposes, the assessment on the subject property shall be reduced from $4,103,560,000 to $2,250,000. The assessment on the subject parcel shall remain at $2,250,000 until there is another subsequent successful tax assessment appeal, a countywide reassessment, a change in the subject property, or any other change that permits a change in the assessment as provided by applicable law. As a result of the adjustment of the assessment on the subject property, there has been an overpayment in taxes to Plymouth Township for tax years 2022 and 2023 in the amount of $8,897.30. Upon approval of the stipulation to settle by the court, the tax collector and/or treasurer for Plymouth Township shall issue to taxpayers a refund without interest in the amount of $8,897.30 unless the taxpayers paid their taxes within the discount period. Then 2% shall be deducted from the amount of the overpayment. And if we could have a stipulation to settle, a motion of stipulation to settle.
All right, is there a motion to stipulate?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nelson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitney. We'll take a vote. Ms. Vicio?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Frederick?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Thank you. Next up for consideration is solid waste disposal agreement with Covanta. Mr. Clark.
Thank you. This is the third addendum to the solid waste disposal agreement. The third addendum, which is being considered on this 11th day of March 2024, by and between Plymouth Township and the County of Montgomery and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, with the party of the first part, hereinafter designated as the Township, and Covanta for recovery, the party of the second part, herein designated as Covanta. The Township and Covanta have previously entered into a solid waste disposal agreement dated December 12th, 2014, which is known as the agreement. The agreement sets forth the terms and conditions under which Covanta agreed to provide all labor, tools, machinery, plant, and equipment and perform all of the work disposing of residential solid waste for Plymouth Township for a period of 5 years commencing January 1st in accordance with the October 30th, 2014 bid proposal submitted to the Township by Covanta, which proposal is designated as Exhibit A to this agreement. The agreement further provides that the township may, at its sole discretion, extend the term of the agreement for 2 additional 5-year option periods in accordance with the bid specifications. The township and Covanta entered into a first addendum to the solid waste disposal agreement dated November 20th, 2019, pursuant to which the term of the agreement was extended for 2 years from January 1st of 2020 to December 31st of 2021. The township and Covanta entered into a second addendum to the solid waste disposal agreement on or about April 10th, 2021, which extended the agreement for 3 years or to December 31st, 2024. The township and Covanta now desire to amend the agreement as set forth hereafter, and now therefore, in consideration of the mutual covenants contained herein, and for the other good and valuable consideration, the receipt and sufficiency of which is hereby acknowledged and intending to be legally bound and having the power and authority to do so, the parties agree as follows. The next 4 paragraphs are just standard, almost boilerplate language. So in witness thereof, the parties have caused this agreement to be executed by their duly authorized officials this 11th day of March 2024. Plymouth Township, Karen, it's an old agreement. It still has Mr. Monero on here, by Karen Bramlett, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Is there a motion to approve the Covanta contract?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Frederick. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitney. Any comments or questions from council? Any comments or questions from the public? All right, hearing none, we will take a vote. Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Ms. Frederick?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right. Next on the agenda by Ms. Vizio is a MICO change order. Ms. Vizio.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I have a change order from Michael Mechanical. It is in the amount of $2,125.70 for additional work and materials, and I would make a motion that we accept this and pay the invoice.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Vizio. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Frederick. Comments or questions from council? Any comments or questions from the audience? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Frederick?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Anything else administrative, Ms. Weiss? Next, under public safety and police, we have first consideration of the active volunteer real estate tax rebate ordinance. This is an ordinance that would have the township rebate taxes, property taxes, to volunteers of our fire departments and volunteers in our emergency medical services. This will apply to owner-occupied residents located here in Plymouth Township, and it will be retroactive to 2023. Mr. Clark, would you read the ordinance?
I will, thank you. This is an ordinance of Plymouth Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, amending the Code of Ordinances at Part 2, General Legislation, Chapter 22, Taxation, to provide a new Article 11 Volunteer Service Real Property Tax Rebate, providing incentives for qualifying volunteers serving a volunteer fire company or non-profit emergency medical services agency in accordance with Pennsylvania Act Number 172 of 2016. Pursuant to Section 301 of the Home Rule Charter, all powers of the township are vested in and exercised by council, including the power to make and adopt ordinances and resolutions consistent with the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth and the Home Rule Charter. And the Council of Plymouth Township desires to amend Chapter 22 of the Township Code of Ordinances to add a new Article 11, volunteer service real property tax rebate. The purpose of the ordinance is to authorize the township to enact a tax rebate to be applied to an active volunteer's real property tax liability for real property taxes imposed by Plymouth Township for a qualifying year as a financial incentive to, 1, acknowledge the value and absence of any public cost for volunteer fire protection and nonprofit emergency medical services provided by active volunteers, and 2, encourage individuals to volunteer or for former volunteers to consider rejoining as active volunteers in a volunteer fire company or nonprofit emergency services agency. The next several sections of the ordinance, council members, are the definition sections, a outline of the criteria of what someone must do to be considered an active service tax rebate program, the tax rebate section and the procedures, the penalties for false reporting, and the repeal and ratification section and the severability section. Ordained and enacted by the Council of Plymouth Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, this 11th day of March 2024. The Council of Plymouth Township, and luckily this one is correct, by Karen R. Bramlett, Chair.
Thank you. And this is first consideration, so we will be voting on this at our next regular meeting. Are there any comments or questions about this ordinance? All right, thank you. Okay, anything else, Chief, under police?
I have nothing, thank you.
Thank you. And we do welcome our new officer. Thank you very much. All right, under Public Works, snow announcement.
I hope we don't get any more. Winter season reminders. It is unlawful to park or abandon a car on any street within 12 hours after a snowfall of 3 inches or more. Vehicles will be towed at the owner's expense. Use off-street parking when snow is predicted. When you park your car in the driveway, there's less snow to shovel. On-street parking, only where no off-street parking is available, is only permitted on the even-numbered side of the street in even years and on the odd-number side of the street in odd years. Never approach moving snow removal equipment. Just because you can see the driver doesn't mean he can see you. We try to keep our crews fresh and rested, but extended weather emergencies can mean long hours for township employees. Please keep children and pets off the streets. Property owners are required to clear their sidewalks at least 30 inches wide within 36 hours after the snow stops. When shoveling your driveway, pile snow to the right. This will prevent the plow from covering your driveway opening again. Don't shovel or plow snow into the street. The plows will just move it back onto your driveway or sidewalk. If the plow is already passed, do not put snow from your driveway into the street. It will refreeze and create a hazard. If there's a fire hydrant by your home, consider adopting it. You know where it is. If it's obscured by snow, fire companies responding to emergencies may not find it. Clearing the snow from the hydrant helps protect you and your neighbors.
Thank you. Engineering, anything tonight, Mr. Manai? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, under subdivision and land development under review, Mr. Whitney.
All right, in regards to the property at 1508 Sandy Hill Road with ALC Development LLC, I have a letter requesting an extension until July 15th, 2024. Would make a motion that we grant this extension.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Whitney. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Any comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Next, we have action on, is it by Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Okay. Action on Genesis. Mr. Clark.
Thank you. Be it resolved that Plymouth Township Council does hereby approve the preliminary final land development plan titled Conocelli Genesis, prepared for Conocelli Genesis, hereinafter called Owner Developer, prepared by Ludgate Engineering of Reading, Pennsylvania, dated July 10, 2023, last reviewed January 29, 2024, consisting of sheets numbers 1 through 20, proposing the construction of a 85 square foot sales building on an existing parking lot having an address of 1208 Ridge Pike and having a parcel number of 49-00-10507-00-1, land development application number 23-4, and to construct an 11,714 square foot building addition which will connect the existing Hyundai Service Center along with improvements to the parking lot, including fire lanes, charging stations, and landscaped islands under and subject to the following conditions. 1, that the owner-developer shall execute a public improvement agreement and memorandum of public improvement agreement as required by the subdivision and land development ordinance and pay all applicable fees and assessments, including but not limited to the following. A, an impact fee for transportation capital improvements under ordinance number 1426 of 2004 as amended in the amount of $75,066.75 based on 45 new trips as set forth in the Carroll Engineering Corporation's traffic review letter dated January 30th, 2024. B, a sewer connection fee in accordance with the connection fee and EDU schedule in effect at the time of application for connection and payment, and a recreation fee in the amount of $14,749.80 based on 13,085 square feet of new building. 2, that the owner-developer shall prepare revised plans to comply with the requirements, comments as set forth in the January 30th, 2024 report of Carroll Engineering, the township traffic engineer, to the satisfaction and approval of said traffic engineer. 3, that the owner-developer shall prepare revised plans to comply with the requirements, comments set forth in the January 30th, 2024 report of Carroll Engineering Corporation, the township sanitary sewer engineer, to the satisfaction and approval of said sanitary sewer engineer. 4, that the owner-developer shall prepare revisions to the plans to comply with the requirements set forth in the December 5th, 2023 report of Woodrow and Associates, the township engineer, except to the extent that waivers are granted to the satisfaction and approval of said township engineer. 5, that the owner-developer shall prepare revisions to the plans to comply with the requirements, comments set forth in the January 4th, 2024 report of Joel Rowe, zoning officer, to the satisfaction and approval of said zoning officer. 6, that the owner-developer shall prepare revisions to the plans to comply with the requirements, comments set forth in the September 15th, 2023 report of Suburban Lighting Consultants, the township lighting consultant, to the satisfaction and approval of said consultant. 7, that the owner-developer shall obtain all required permits and approvals from the sewer authority, a DEP sewage facility planning module waiver, the water company with jurisdiction over the property, and a highway occupancy permit from Plymouth Township and a highway occupancy permit from Montgomery County. 8, that the owner-developer shall prepare revisions to the plans to comply with the requirements, comments set forth in the March 6, 2024 report of the Plymouth Township Planning Agency and the February 2nd, 2024 report of the Montgomery County Planning Commission, each attached to this resolution to the satisfaction and approval of the township zoning officer. 9, that the owner-developer shall prepare revisions to the plans to list all waivers granted and notes required by this resolution. 10, prior to the issuance of any permits, all outstanding legal, engineering, and administrative fees applicable to this land development must be paid by the owner-developer. 11, this approval is subject to the fulfillment of all the foregoing conditions in their entirety, and no permit shall be issued, nor shall any development take place on the property unless and until all such conditions are fulfilled. Further resolved that the owner-developer shall be granted the following waivers from the terms of the Plymouth Township Subdivision and Land Development Ordinance of 1980 as amended, and from the Plymouth Township Zoning Ordinance of March of 1960, Ordinance 342 as amended. A, Article 5, Section 503.1, relief from the requirement from installing sidewalks along streets granted, conditioned upon Montgomery County constructing said sidewalks as part of the Ridge Pike Improvement Project. B, Article 5, Section 5182C, relief from the requirement from a signed and sealed landscape architect. And C, Article 5, Section 5185A, relief from the requirement of planting trees 50 feet on center. Duly presented and adopted by Plymouth Township Council at a public meeting held on the 11th day of March 2024, Plymouth Township, by Karen R. Bramlett, Chair.
Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nelson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitney. Any comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the, yes, sir. Can you step forward, please? Just tell us your name and what township you live in.
511 Old Elm Street, Conshohocken.
Okay?
Is there an underground basin or anything to be putting any of these things for to rainwater to go to? You're putting more. There's no pervious area. There's some pervious area. You need so much pervious to this rainwater. You're coming off the roof. You got the roof, and you got the parking lot, and all that dumps into Plymouth Creek, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay.
That's
In
the
Plymouth
worst.
Creek, it floods Caldwell Lane down there. It's like, all right, you're making more, covering
Well,
more.
there's things on the plan to mitigate the stormwater impact of the development.
And so, like I was saying, I've been on a lot of commercial sites and construction sites. They have to put basins in now to slow the flow, to have the amount of water go underneath it. That doesn't happen in this township.
I
or-
think that this site is unique in that it's mostly existing impervious coverage,
Okay.
so they're just building on top of what's already
Yeah, you're
there.
building on top of what's there, but there shouldn't be like, okay, you're going to build something there. You have something. Shouldn't there be a plan in place? Okay, in the future, like, let's slow this stuff down, like slow it down.
Well, what's happening there is theoretically the same.
It's grandfather.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. good.
Yeah.
Thank
If
you.
it was a new development, yes, there would be underground detention basins.
Yeah,
above
but
that.
pre-existing, so he's grandfathered?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I just want, every time there's major rain anywhere, there's Caldwell Lane, that's just a whole
Yeah.
big one. All right, thank you.
Well,
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote on the resolution. Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Frederick?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right. Next, we have a series of escrows. First up is Ms. Vizio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a letter from Mr. Lyman and I about a property. It's PR Plymouth Meeting LP at 500 West Germantown Pike, Shake Shack in Honeygrow. Based on field observations of the work completed to date, it's been found that sufficient work was completed to release the amount of $26,598, bringing the account balance for the project to zero. And I would make a motion that we release this amount that's in escrow.
Motion by Ms. Vizio. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitney. Any comments or questions from council? Any comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Ms. Frederick?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Another escrow release by Mr. Whitney.
In regards to the Thomas Road Sanitary Sewer Project, I have a letter from Alan Mason saying that the work is acceptable and that they would suggest releasing the remaining escrow amount of $49,000. And I would make a motion that we release this escrow amount.
Motion for Mr. Whitney. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Vizio. Any comments or questions from council? Any comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Another escrow release, this one by Ms. Vizio.
Thank you. I have a letter from Mr. Lonnie Manai referencing Cold Point Village Station. Based on field observations of work completed to date, it's been found that sufficient work was completed to release the amount of $18,956.52, bringing the account balance for the project to zero, and I would make a motion that we release this amount.
Motion by Ms. Vizio, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Any comments or questions from council? Any comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Ms. Frederick?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right, next, announcement of our zoning hearings. Mr. Nelson?
Yeah, we have a zoning hearing board that will be held on Monday, March 18th, 2024, commencing at 7 p.m. right here in the Greater Plymouth Community Center. For those following along at home, it's 2910 Jolly Road, Plymouth Meeting, PA 19462. The following applications will be heard. There's an application from Home Depot. It's an application for variances from Plymouth Township Zoning Ordinance number 342 as amended, Article 17, actually, yeah, no, what is it? 37, way off. Section 3710A. The variance requested is they are asking for a parking reduction of 41 spaces. Thus, they are requesting a variance of 41 spaces to allow for outdoor storage on site. It is understood that there was a previous variance that allowed for 15 spaces to be utilized for rentals. They wish to reallocate these spaces towards this variance. The property is located at 200 Allenwood Road in the Business Park zoning district. The second application is from a Joseph Austin, who is applying for a variance from Plymouth Township Zoning Ordinance number 342 as amended, Article 19, right? Section 1908.1. He's requesting a rebuild of a current detached garage and an addition of a second floor office. So the new build will be a new 26-foot by 24-foot by 23-foot garage with second floor office / storage. The property is located at 12 Longview Circle in a B residential zoning district. Any citizen of Plymouth Township or interested party may attend the public hearing and have an opportunity to be heard. Now, with regard to the Home Depot application, I move to authorize the solicitor to discuss the proposed condition with the applicant. If the applicant does not agree, I further move to authorize the solicitor to oppose the application.
Thank you. Motion from Mr. Nelson to have our solicitor attend if necessary. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Leonard. Any comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right, an announcement of our upcoming events under Parks and Recreation. Ms. Leonard?
Our spring brochure came out on March 18th. You can get, what is this? The community, it's 10% off the community center, Saturday 3/16 through Friday 3/22. Camp registration is ongoing, but camp space is limited due to construction. There's an egg scramble with the bunny on Saturday, March 23rd, and an Easter extravaganza at the pool on Sunday, the 24th. Veterans banners at the Greater Plymouth Community Center Park. Deadline is April 1st for those. There are new fitness classes on new days and times. Montgomery County Senior Games is on Monday, May 6th to Friday, May 10th. And then save the date for Plymouth Township Day on Saturday, June 1st. And save the date for the community yard sale with Whitpain Township on Saturday, June 15th at Montgomery County Community College. All of these details are available in our brochure, on our app, website, social media, or by calling 610-277-4312.
Thank you. Next, we have a DCNR grant resolution for rehabilitation at the JFK Park. Mr. Clark.
Yes, this is a resolution, a form resolution that has been sent to us from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, whereas Plymouth Township applicant desires to undertake the project Plymouth Township JFK Park Rehab, whereas the applicant desires to receive from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources a grant for the purpose of carrying out this project, and whereas the application package includes a document entitled Terms and Conditions of Grant, and whereas the applicant understands that the content of the document entitled Terms and Conditions of Grant, including appendices referenced to herein, will become the terms and conditions of a grant agreement between the applicant and the department if the applicant is awarded a grant. Now, therefore, it is resolved that the grant application may be electronically signed on behalf of the applicant by Karen Bramlett, who at the time of signing has the title of Plymouth Township Council Chairperson and an email address of kbramlett@plymouthtownship.org. It is if this official signed the grant application electronic authorization prior to the passage of this resolution, this grant of authority applies retroactively to the date of signing. If the applicant is awarded a grant, the grant application electronic authorization signed by the above official will become the applicant grantee's executed signature page for the grant agreement, and the applicant grantee will be bound by the grant agreement. Any amendment to the grant agreement may be signed on behalf of the grantee by the official who, at the time of the signing of the agreement, has the title specified in paragraph 1, and the grantee will be bound by the amendment. If anyone wants me to explain that.
Okay, we have to move to adopt the
Yes,
resolution.
yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution for the JFK Park grant?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Whitney, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Any comments or questions from council? I have a few comments. This rehabilitation of the JFK Park, in addition to resurfacing, the ball fields which are not in use are going to be converted to soccer fields. And that will give our soccer clubs a good home to come and to play. We really need that. And so there'll be other improvements made and really bring the JFK Park up to good standards. I think the playground too, right?
Oh, yes.
The new playground is being put in. Anything else, Ms. Weiss? The soccer fields and the playground resurfacing?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
And the parking lot at 421 Lucetta Street, which
Yeah.
was property
Yeah,
purchased.
the parking lot will
Make
be
an additional
improved.
Parking lot, yeah, extra
Okay.
parking spaces.
Extra parking at JFK. All right. Any comments or questions from the audience? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Ms. Frederick?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right. Next, we have an announcement of some citizen board vacancies. Mr. Whitney?
All right, our regularly programmed citizen board vacancy announcement. All residents wishing to serve on these citizen boards are asked to submit their resume or a letter stating their interest to the township manager at 700 Belvoir Road, Plymouth, A 19462, or via email to kweiss@plymouthtownship.org. The following citizen board positions are currently open. There are 3 positions open on the Property Maintenance Code Appeals Board, 1 position open on the Historical Architectural Review Board, 1 position open on the Human Relations Commission, one position open on the so we have the zoning hearing board alternate, which is just a 3-year term, and one position open on the Parks, Recreation, and Shade Tree Advisory Board.
Thank you. Next, we have some appointments of citizens to citizen boards. First, I make a motion that we appoint Mr. Stephen Pinkney to the Parks, Recreation, and Shade Tree Advisory Board. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Frederick. Any comments or questions from council? Other than my deciding which name to call you tonight?
You're 50-50, so keep it score here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to hyphenate it. I don't know. We have an extra member of council. We'll take this up at the end of your time. All right, any comments or questions from the audience? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote on this appointment. Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Ms. Frederick?
In favor.
Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right, next we have appointments to our new Communications Advisory Committee. Ms. Vizio?
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I am excited to announce that we have 8 willing citizens to appoint to this committee. We have Stephanie Battaglia, Al Ronderos, Chris Monero, Becky Cosgrave, Dawn Gaffney, Sandy Grunfeld, Ronald Plant, and Sonia Pinkney. And I would like to make a motion that we accept all of those residents for a place on this committee.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Vizio. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Frederick. Any comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Frederick?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right, now is the time for audience participation. Is there anyone who would like to address council tonight?
Yes.
Can you just state your name again, please?
Frank Petrowski, 511 Old Elm Street, Conshohocken. I have a noise issue.
Okay,
There's a house, 512 Old Elm Street. It was condemned, I don't know, last year or so. And smoke alarm, 24/7 beeping. And how long can this house be condemned, and what's the deal? Do you have to bring up the code? What's the deal? I'd like to know what can be done about it. My wife, you can't open, it's going to be soon time to open the windows, and you constantly beep, hear beep, beep, beep. And what do we have to do? What do I have to do about this?
Does anybody, no one lives at the home?
No,
you said?
it was condemned.
It was condemned, okay.
Yeah, there was
Has-
offered there was a call. She's passed away recently, and her daughter. There was a call. The fire department came. Then code enforcement came, and the officers came and made sure that she was escorted out of the house. And she wanted to live elsewhere. And her daughter supposedly took. I don't know who has the property, but it's still condemned, I think. And nobody lives there, because the smoke alarms are hardwired in Plymouth Township, where it's a requirement when you remodel the house, because it did burn down. One was 20 years, I forget how many years ago, and you have to have hardwired smoke detectors when you do any remodeling up to code in Plymouth Township. So they need to be replaced, not just putting a battery in them, they have to be it's constant beeping, constant, which is not good to the neighborhood, unfair to the neighborhood.
Do we know if anyone has keys to the property?
Yes, I think that, yes, I think that the daughter does. I don't know if she inherited it or what, I don't know what the deal was with it, but I think the house.
If we got the
Yes,
address,
I
we
can
could,
ask
we
the
could
code
find out who
department.
who the owner of the property is, or and we can reach out to them.
Yeah, because there's been numerous fines before they had to bring it up. The weeds were growing so high, the township did enact them. She made it, did have somebody come clean up the thing, you know what I mean? The property is disheveled in dire straits a little bit. The garage is collapsed in. It's an eyesore. It's an eyesore.
Yeah, If you could, at the end of the meeting, give us the address.
512 Old Elm?
512
Old
yes.
Elm?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now everybody
I'd like to
knows
thank the
it's
chief and his officers for a larger presence of officers and being in the Cunningtown area down there to try to reduce the traffic, because it's still a mess with the traffic down there and speeding. But we do, I see more officers. I come by and I see more officers present, which is great. Because I see them have people pulling over, which is awesome, but it's still a mess down here. It's still a big old mess. And one other issue I had, I'd like to know what's going on. Is Lake Street ever going to be paved? Is it Mr. Turnetta? Is that still up in the air?
I think Mr. Tornetta agreed to pave his portion of where his property starts, but not the part from Old Elm to where his property begins. So no.
Old Elm doesn't come in. Oh, I see what you're.
Light Street.
Right. And we were just
And
down
part
there.
of Light Street is privately owned, so it would be
Yeah,
the
it's private.
responsibility.
Mr. Turnetta owns half of that road then. He
Half.
owns half of it.
Yeah.
So the part that he owns, he said that he's going to.
He did. Not the part from Old Elm back, but
Yeah.
to where his
Once his property
larger, where
starts,
his
yeah.
larger property that's zone limited industrial begins. He said he would pave that portion the other day.
Yeah, because he owns the property right on the corner there, so
Yes,
he,
told us that,
his
yeah.
property goes pretty far back there in depth, so
Right.
he
Now
said
he does
he's
have
going to
one
pay for it.
He didn't say the part alongside the home that he purchased. He did not say that part. He said where his driveway begins to his industrial area is where he would pave. That's what he said the other day. We were just down there, and that's what he said.
How many feet would that be?
It would be what looks like the side yards of the house that Mr. Tornetta is remodeling.
Yeah.
And then the other house across on the other side of Light Street.
Okay.
That's a paper street.
It's not
Private
a,
street.
now the township won't dedicate that road, right? If it was dedicated, is after it's paved, can it be dedicated or not?
It'd have to be evaluated to the standards of the township, so we.
Oh, it'd have to be curbs and everything else?
Well,
there?
yes, and we'd have to know what kind of base is under the road and that kind of thing before we'd even consider taking it.
Oh, okay. That's where the Texas Eastern line runs under
So
there.
it almost the road would almost have to be rebuilt to township standards.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably.
But he can still pave if he wants to pave, but
Sure.
it,
You could
okay.
put blacktop over that. if
Yeah,
he
you
wants
can,
to
but
do it.
there's no, okay.
The township's not gonna take it.
I figured that. All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks, Mr. Petrowski.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Um,
I just state your name for the record.
Okay, my name is Artis Lukens. I live at 508 Conshohocken Road. So you answered some of my questions. So the township's never going to dedicate the last third of Light Street. It's just going to remain a whatever. Correct?
Yeah, private road or a public or a paper street. It's gonna be enough.
You're never going to fix it.
Never's a long time.
Never's a long time, but I don't know why the township would do that at this.
Because there's a community?
Well, I mean, I guess you can make
Okay.
you can make a petition to the township to have it
Okay.
dedicated, and they could act on it.
Okay, because it's 260 feet long, it's one block. That would be nice if that was just completely Light Street and added on to the rest of Light Street. But the crosswalk, so I have some questions. Later this afternoon, I got an email from Karen about the time frame that we're looking at for the crosswalk, and I want to add this into the next up, the Cunningtown update. So I just have a couple of questions. There's 10 of them. So my questions are, how many years? Who is the engineer? Are you the engineer?
I work for the company that's the engineer.
Okay.
Tim,
With Carol Engineering is doing this.
oh, okay, yeah, Carroll Engineering's doing the PennDOT application.
Okay, so
Carroll.
it's Carroll Engineering?
Yes.
And they're the ones that came up with the plans?
Yes.
Okay, and in the past 4 years, more or less, how many crosswalks has Carroll Engineering
I
designed?
can't can't answer.
More or less?
I-
100, 5?
Prob-
We don't know.
I don't know.
You don't
I
know,
don't know how many they've done.
but you've done a couple.
I don't
He
work for
said he didn't
I don't
know.
work
He's
for
not a traffic
Cal-
engineer. He's not a
Okay,
traffic
so-
engineer.
okay,
Civil-
so-
Civil engineer.
yeah,
Okay.
a traffic engineer.
Okay,
We
so,
were assuming has experience doing this,
okay,
being a
so,
traffic engineer.
so he, as a traffic engineer, he has experience doing
Yes.
this? Okay, but we don't know who he is?
It's Alan Mason from Carroll Engineering.
Okay, and he's got experience, but we don't know how many he's designed in the
I can't
past 4
answer that,
years.
no.
Okay, so compared to other crosswalks in the area, how complicated is the Conshohocken Road, Light Street crosswalk, more or less? Is it more complicated, less complicated, about the same as every other crosswalk?
I'd say
I have no idea.
it probably is more complicated because it's the PennDOT jurisdiction. And if it was a township jurisdiction, it might be less complicated.
And how does PennDOT, so I'm just adding on, how does PennDOT make it more difficult?
Because you have to go through PennDOT and meet their standards and
Okay,
specifications.
but we're assuming that this traffic engineer
Can do this, yes.
can do this because he's had experience
Yes.
with this. Okay, great. Okay. And when he designs a crosswalk, I'm assuming, or I guess I'm asking, does he factor cost in as well as the structure? Like, is he looking at the cost as well as the structure? Like, generally? Like, if you're building a house, you figure, you pretty much know what the cost is gonna be, so it's the same thing with the crosswalk?
Yeah.
Okay,
I would imagine.
okay. And how long does construction of a crosswalk take? Like, more or less? Like, does it take a month, does it take 2
It's
weeks?
Crosswalk,
Too many
it takes a
hypotheticals.
couple, 3 days.
3 days, that's it?
Well, not
Cool.
to get the basin for the city. There's
If you're just gonna
just
put paint.
paint on the road is one thing.
Yeah, if you're
Okay,
talking about
so-
just paint on the road.
But we have to do
There's-
curb cuts here.
Well, there's
Okay,
curb
so-
cuts.
Yeah.
Okay,
See,
so,
ADA ramps, you're
I'm not-
money on the spot.
right, well,
I'm not
and either
designing
of
it.
you.
I'm
We're
not
the
designing
traffic-
this.
We're not the traffic
we're
engineer.
not.
It's-
Okay,
we're
so
not.
more or less, I mean, you guys have been
No,
involved in
Yeah,
this.
It's
I-
too
I-
hypothetical.
I-
It's too
We can't
hypothetical.
answer these questions.
So
this
you've
question.
never built a sidewalk in Plymouth?
Built sidewalks, but not crosswalks.
Or your crosswalk, you've never built a
Not
crosswalk in
like,
Carroll?
not like,
You've never
not like
been
this
involved?
one, no.
Not like this one. This
Not
one's
like
gonna
this one.
have static signs that are
Uh-huh.
gonna have a flashing beacon going
Uh-huh.
all the time. So you have to build a structure to hold that
Uh-huh.
standard.
Uh-huh.
You have to get either electricity or solar to it.
Mhm.
You have to evaluate that. And PennDOT's gonna issue a permit, which will have certain requirements. We don't know what they are yet. I tried
Mhm.
to explain that in the email today.
Mhm.
So whatever PennDOT comes back and says, they mark up the plans and they say, this is what you're allowed to build. Then we have to probably put it out to bid.
Right, and that's my question, because
So-
we all know that it's gonna cost more than $23,000.
I don't know yet, but I would imagine it might.
Yeah.
It very well could. And then we have to go out to bid with it.
And
It
how
has
long
to-
does that usually take?
Well, it has to sit on the street about 30 days.
So 30 days, okay.
And then once the bids are opened, then they have to be evaluated. We're required to take the lowest responsible bidder, may or may not be the lowest bidder, but we have to take the lowest responsible bidder. And then we have to have that approved at a council public meeting, which happens once a month at a regular voting meeting like tonight.
Mhm.
So you have that, and then after that, we have to make up contracts. That usually takes about 2 weeks or so back and forth. We send they award the bid to a certain, construction company. Then contracts have to be created back and forth. You need performance bonds, maintenance bonds, certificates of insurance.
Check recommendations.
A lot of details that have to happen 2-3 weeks after the bid is awarded. And then after that, you can have a notice to proceed. And that's usually given within so many days, because the vendor, the contractor might not be ready to drop everything he's doing. He may be on 2 other projects ahead of this project.
Mhm.
So whatever that timeline is has to be added to the process. So that's why I say at a minimum, 2 to 3 months from the time you get the PennDOT permit, at a minimum. We don't have the PennDOT permit yet. So it could, if you know, that's a minimum. It could be 4 months. I don't really know.
And you don't know how many companies are gonna be
I don't know how many
bidding for
bid.
this because,
No.
yeah, because,
And we have to take the lowest responsible bidder.
right, and we've never built a crosswalk like this before.
Well, we did put in the other solar-powered speed limit sign down there, and we have one on Belvoir Road. We kind of switch it back and forth. We have one down on Conshohocken Road. So we've put them in before. That's part of this crosswalk plan, permit. So, but yes, we've put them.
So
in.
we know how much that costs.
Oh, it was a number of years ago, but I believe I know it's very expensive. The base has to be about 5 feet below the surface. A concrete base has to be put in with the bolts for the breakaway standard. You know, it's pretty involved. So, you know, I don't know how much it will cost. I don't know what all the details will be. PennDOT, you know, tells us what we're allowed to build there.
Okay,
It's their road.
okay. And we don't know when we're gonna get that, so I'll give
No.
them a call and find out what the status is on that and ask our representative to follow up with that. Have you heard anything?
I can tell you that we've had some meetings. I've been coordinating with PennDOT and our traffic engineer about the guardrail situation, trying to get them to come out on site where everybody can meet. And we looked up some of the regulations I have here for guardrails, which is actually it's a lot more liberal than some of these other projects. So it does allow for a stronger guardrail. So we're hoping to get something there, but we're trying to coordinate those two people's schedule to physically come out.
Okay, and that would be for the.
That's for that
the-
guardrail.
The guardrail.
Just
and-
past the overpass, trying to get it longer, trying to get it stronger,
Okay,
so that specifically so we protect those homes. The one in
Perfect.
particular that keeps getting hit.
yeah. And it does keep getting hit. Okay. And I'm asking that because in the past 2 days, just the past 2 days, I've seen 6 pedestrians walking along that no sidewalk area. 2 of them were kids. So when I say that we need a sidewalk between Old Elm Street and Conshohocken Road, that underpass, I mean it. Somebody else is gonna get hit by a car this time. And we told you and told you and told you that this is a problem. And nothing's been done. I mean, stuff has been done, talked about, but, you know, except for what the chief has done, I don't know. So,
Well, I can tell you that since we started talking about the crosswalks, the sidewalk, over $30,000 has been spent on this project. So,
great.
yeah,
Good.
so we are doing something. You
Yeah.
can't, I know you can't see it yet, but all the traffic study, the traffic plan, you know, we have a separate budget account number, and over $30,000 has been spent on our consultants in the efforts of getting these projects done. So it's not like we're not listening, it's not like, you know, we don't care, it's not like we're not putting any money toward it. We spent over $30,000 so far. And we're working on it. The wheels are in motion. It's
Okay.
just a lot of background that goes into it, that's all.
Okay. I will take this and write up the report, or, you know, the next update. Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience tonight? Sure. Can you just give us your name and the township you live in?
Jamie Martino. I live in Conshohocken, but it's Plymouth Township on that side of the road. Today there were people out painting at this intersection we're talking about at Light Street and Old Elm. They were putting out, it looked like a new curb paint on the one side and like marked it out, so I'm just curious.
What colors are the blue paints?
White and yellow. So they did the center lines, the two center, right through the intersection where we haven't had.
Yellow is.
So it's,
Yellow's gas.
no, they repainted like the lines. on the
On
road.
the street.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm just curious, was that a PennDOT thing that
Yeah,
they would do
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I was curious about like,
Okay.
The
I
lines.
was excited, I thought they were there to do the crosswalk.
Nah.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking
If
about- I thought you were talking
only-
about lines across the street.
No,
that would
sorry.
show where the
So
gas
the
and the
lines
water.
on
and-
The fog
actual-
line in the center.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got it,
yeah.
you got it.
Okay.
Okay,
Long lines.
that was my
Okay.
question.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else have questions, comments they'd like to give tonight? All right, thank you all very much. There will be a executive session following this, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.